Yeah, 23-23 against a really explosive offense, and really believe we had a great chance to win at that point. We had played the run game very well up to that point. A running play goes out the gate for a touchdown. Immediately following, we muff a kickoff, return, and then an interception. And so really those three plays back to back to back changed the outcome. Up until then, it was more what we had hoped, more what we had planned for, and more what we had expected in managing the game, and expecting whoever basically is driving at the end of the game would win or not win. And so that's what it looked like at that point. And then our lack of execution, again, one on defense, one in the special teams, and then an interception was the difference, I thought.
Bronco, could you talk about the secondary? It seemed like they were up and down today.
Yeah, the secondary is giving up just too many deep passes, not playing the ball well, and the yards per catch today was around 16, I think, yards per catch. And so the yardage jumps really fast when we're not making plays on the football. The secondary, more than any other position, controls points. And so not only do you need to knock the ball down, but you need to tackle well. And so we did lose today. So Joey Blunt went out early, Devontae Cross later in the game, and Brenton Nelson before half. So I don't know the status on any of those three currently.
Is there anything you saw that sort of led to the big plays? I know you mentioned sort of the struggles there with maybe the secondary. Is that kind of the main cause of some of those big plays?
There's always matchup assessments. So a matchup that we thought would be more in our favor with our safety versus the number 2 receiver for Wake, the second receiver in, we thought that would be more in our favor. That ended up being more in Wake's favor, as they threw in their RPO game. They were throwing and catching well to him, whoever that might be.
Anyone questions, if you can use the raise hand option, that would be great. Also a reminder, mute your line when you're not asking a question. So Mike Barber, Bennett, or Jeff White, go right ahead.
Yeah, Coach, I don't want to make too big a deal of the Grant Mish penalty. It looked like you guys maybe were going in for a potentially big touchdown. That pushes you back, makes it a field goal. What did he do? What was the call? And also, do you agree? Was that a moment that it seemed like maybe you were about to seize control?
Yeah, I think it was critical. There was a few other holding plays somewhere along the way too that seemed to be similarly critical. But yeah, so I saw a push, much like I've seen pushes before. So a Wake player pushed, he pushed back, and yeah, it's not okay. And so that did cost us. And and in those games that are tight and that swing on momentum, it makes a big difference.
Brian Delaney's been automatic for you. How much did that surprise you tonight?
Yeah, it really surprised me. I think, I know he had the consecutive field goal record now at UVA, and so hadn't missed in a long time. And so I think it surprised us all.
Bronco, do you have any sense of whether
I wasn't able to hear. There's some background noise either from one of you or up here.
White, please.
Do you have any sense of whether Brennan might be available next weekend?
I don't know. I don't have any indication at this point.
Let's go for Ad Franklin and then Doug Dowdy.
Coach, when you put this idea together with the 3 quarterbacks, did it play a role that Thompson couldn't throw as well? What was the driving force behind having both Ira and KT in there as opposed to just one of the two of them?
So not every play was run from each player, and so really what was working was what was working, and so there wasn't a complete tonight. All plays that were scripted and all plays that are in or are possibilities weren't called. So and they're different types of runners. So and that doesn't mean that there weren't pass plays and there aren't pass plays for either or both. But 7 yards of rush is pretty good, so it seemed to be effective.
Let's go Doug Dowdy and during our Jermaine Farrell.
You've had trouble in the first quarter all season. Do you feel like it was more of the same tonight?
Yeah, I did. It kind of came differently. Really, it was the slot receiver matchup on our safeties tonight. That happened really quickly, and so and two of our most experienced players in Joey and Brenton were the matchups where they had big gains or points there. So yeah, surprised, but we had it's 2 weeks worth now of emphasis on starting faster. I still haven't gotten. I haven't designed the right answers yet to help our team start faster, and still working on it.
Coach, what's the biggest message are you going to give your team? You know, you guys are at 1-3 right now, 3 straight losses. What's the biggest message that you can give your team to kind of get things turned around?
Well, really, that what turning anything around does, it starts inside, then works out. And so, first of all, the mindset and the competitive spirit and the work ethic. And so I was really impressed and encouraged by what I saw all weekend and throughout the game tonight. And then it's the execution and the identities as those continue to flesh out with different players changing through injury, etc. And so a little bit of a moving target right now. So mindset and work ethic and preparation is what we can control. And then eventually that will lead to execution at some point if we remain diligent and when we remain diligent.
Hey, Bronco, can you clear one thing up for me? Can KT Thompson, can he play quarterback at this point physically or in terms of throwing the ball, or is that not a sustainable option?
It's not sustainable, but he can for a while.
And can you tell us, Ronnie Walker, he did not play today. I know he got his waiver. Can you tell me what his status is?
Yeah, Ronnie became ill. Amazing. So just as the waiver comes in, he was out of practice that day and not feeling well, and so the timing was, so he's out with sickness currently.
Let's have a couple more questions from Bennett and Brad Franklin.
Coach, you mentioned sort of unbroken growth a lot in your program. As you look at the 1-3 start, how do you view unbroken growth in those terms? Does it feel like it's broken at this point, or is it just sort of a step along the way?
No, I think in terms of the same pace, it certainly is, right? This is more resetting or reestablishing or re-becoming with this particular team in these set of circumstances at this time. Yeah, there's not much that's normal or typical right now, and so I don't see what's happening currently as a continuation of where we've been. This is more now a reestablishing, a resetting, and quite frankly, refinding and identifying what this particular team can be skilled at, how we have success, and that formula, as we're finding, again, with the different moving pieces, is changing, and we're having to adapt and adjust the best we can. I just want the mindset, the effort, and the competitive spirit to remain, and the execution will catch up at some point. And that's my message to our team currently.
We have a last question from Brad Franklin, and then we'll have Keon Thompson next.
Coach, obviously it's a rough evening for a lot of the different phases. Juwan Briggs seemed to have a pretty solid game. I think he had a couple sacks. What have you seen from him this season and in terms of his development and his play tonight?
I've just seen more consistency from him. He's more fundamentally sound. He's more consistent, and that's been encouraging. He's in his second year after starting in year one, and so I just see, going back to the previous question, I see him picking up where he left off and moving forward. While that's not happening as a team collectively, there are individual players that are doing that, and he's one of them.